Hello and welcome to the special live transmission at PTV World. As the things have been unfolding so rapidly since 22nd of April, post Pahalgam incident in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. What makes me worried as a citizen of this region, because there is 1.438 billion people residing in India and 240 million people reside in Pakistan. This is one of the most populous regions in the world. And what exactly happens whenever any sort of terrorist incident happens within India or Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir? Indian authorities and its media, which is also called as the Godi media nowadays, because this is a term which has been coined by one of the Indian journalists, because this particular media is so biased that it puts all that extremist narrative on steroids. And we have seen, without any sort of credible investigation or any sort of solid proof or concrete evidence against Pakistan, Indian media started that false propaganda alleging Pakistan with this particular incident that happened in Pahalgam. Not only that, the Cabinet Committee on Security of India, which was chaired by its Prime Minister Narendra Modi, took some very aggressive and unilateral measures against Pakistan, suspending the Indus Water Treaty, a number of other aggressive measures, to which Pakistan's National Security Committee came up with very concrete countermeasures. Also, the statements that we have seen from the Pakistani leadership. Later on, Pakistan's Prime Minister offered a neutral and transparent investigation into this particular incident. And we have also seen that particular offer by the Defense Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Khawaja Mohammad Asif, as well as Interior Minister, Mr. Mohsin Naqvi, has been repeatedly given towards the Indian side. Hasn't been any sort of response by the Indian side on that particular front also. We know for a fact the kind of track record Indian system has got as far as its judicial system is concerned. Its investigations or inquiries into incidents of such nature are concerned. Pakistan doesn't carry that very trust on Indian investigations and inquiries. Hence, Pakistan has offered its willingness for any sort of neutral and transparent investigation. So the ball is now in the court of Indians if they want to agree to it. And if they have got any sort of evidence, that is what the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Ishaq, also in that presser after the National Security Committee meeting had said that if India has got any credible evidence regarding Pakistan's involvement in that tragic Pahalgam incident, it should come up with presentation of that particular evidence, not to Pakistan also, but also should tell the world that it has. But there hasn't been any sort of evidence at the hands of Indians. Had there been any sort of concrete proof at the hands of Indian authorities, they wouldn't have wasted any time to present that evidence before the world. Rather, they have resorted with their media to a blame game. Whenever such type of incident in India or Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir happens, Indian authorities and Indian media start pointing fingers towards Pakistan without any credible evidence. Now, when we talk about the international community's response to this particular whole saga that has been unfolding, which has been this particular extremist narrative, the mindset which is at play as far as Indian authorities, the media is concerned, has put the lives of billions of people at risk because of this particular narrative. As far as the international community's response is concerned, the United Nations has urged both the parties to exercise maximum restraint. We have also got a statement that has come forth by the Foreign Ministry of China. It has also urged both the countries to exercise restraint. We've also seen US State Department giving a statement asking both the parties for going towards a responsible resolution of this particular crisis as it is unfolding. We've also seen as Indian media had been trying to fan flames of, asking its authorities, its armed forces to strike Pakistan, to wipe out certain cities, to which there has been a very concrete response on the part of Indian authorities. We have seen Prime Minister saying, let there be no doubt that we are going to respond and defend our sovereignty no matter what, as we had responded after that false flag operation post-Pulwama, as India resorted to that misadventure and got the bloody nose in return. All these important aspects of a discussion in today's special transmission. For that, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Professor Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal, foreign affairs expert. Dr. Jaspal, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. We really appreciate that. Also in the studio, we are honored to be joined by Manur Qureshi, broadcast journalist. Ms. Qureshi, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on this special live transmission on Skype. At the same time, we are honored to be joined by Mr. Agha Iqrar Haroon, senior analyst. Mr. Haroon, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on this special live transmission. Dr. Jaspal, the offer of a transparent and a neutral investigation, what sort of a gesture on the part of Pakistani authorities is this one? Pakistan stands ready for going into any sort of neutral and transparent investigation. Haven't heard anything on from the Indian authorities as of yet.
I think that Pakistan responded to this irrational, hyper, knee-jerk response to Pahalgam attack by the Indian Prime Minister diplomatically, politically, and with a big resolve. So I think it's a good move that, okay, if you want to conduct the inquiry, it must be from the neutral or a third party. India never goes for that. It's understandable because there are many ifs and buts in this attack. And the second point is that if India go for that, then this false flag, if it is not going for that inquiry, then it means that what the Pakistani authorities are claiming, that it's a mere false flag, that is correct. And if it goes for a neutral inquiry, then there may be a possibility that within the India, there are many groups from north to south and from the east to west, which you find the dissident groups there. Maybe they are involved, or maybe some government's own agencies are involved. And here, when we see the way he cut the entire trip, I mean Prime Minister Modi, from Saudi Arabia, rushed back, immediately chaired the Cabinet Committee for Security. And before you can say facts were collected according to the report, they started announcing their decision, and in which they were accusing Pakistan, laying down. That indicates that India will not go for a neutral inquiry or investigation. B, there are certain ulterior motives behind this entire drama, and those ulterior motives are political, and there could be one element is that there is a conflict between the RSS and the growing Modi individualistic approach within the party, or you can say ideological discourse, ideological community in India. Second is that his fast declining popularity and approaching Bihar election in October and November, and follow up by the UP election. And last year, and his own government is standing on a few seats. A coalition partners, it's a mercy on the coalition partners. So by this way, they went for this drama, and this drama will be not ending sooner. It has a longevity because of their ulterior motives.
Okay, so these ulterior motives that you explained in your first take primarily deal with that very advantage they want to get at the domestic front. Are there any objectives or the motives behind this particular false flag operation when it comes to India trying to take that mileage or any sort of advantage on the international level? I'll come back to you, Dr. Jaspal. Manu, do you expect Indians to accept this offer from Pakistan's side of a neutral and a transparent investigation? If not, what could be the possible reason behind that, and what that would be primarily indicating?
Actually, Dr. Jaspal has already mentioned that India never goes for that, because they have already started the warfare of propaganda. They have started the 5th generation of warfare, in which India is trying to blame Pakistan again and again without any logic, and now Pakistan has offered independent investigation, but we are just looking forward for their reply. So the issue behind that is, it is not about India only, it is not about Pakistan only, even the international media is covering that today. There was a news on New York Times that India seeks to build its case against Pakistan to strike Pakistan. So basically we have seen, and one important thing, and it is not it was not from a Western journalist, it is from a journalist based in Mumbai. They know what is happening inside the India. They are trying to propagate against Pakistan through social media. Their fake journalists are doing that. They are blaming that, and they are not accepting or offer because they are guilty. They know that Pakistan is not involved in that, and as Dr. Saab has already mentioned, that there are elections coming up. So they are doing such kind of tactics to have a, to have a public attraction. And the most important thing we all know, and it is not from Pakistan, it is from EU Disinfo Lab. They have mentioned that India is using fake accounts, bot accounts, forged image, forged videos since long. And in this Pahalgam attack, we have seen a video in which the woman came to the social media and she said that I am alive, that's a fake video. So
That's horrible.
That's horrible, and that's from inside
That
the
Indian media
people are
declares a
speaking.
woman being dead, and later on she turns out to be alive.
Exactly, exactly. And people from the India are speaking against their fake news. They are speaking against the fake narrative they are building against Pakistan. So there was a security breach. They couldn't, secure the citizens, and now they are blaming Pakistan for that. And now they are using proxies against Pakistan for that. It is not the case which international media can ignore. We all know what they are doing with Pakistan.
Okay, so let me bring in Mr. Agha Ikrar Haroon into the discussion also. Mr. Haroon, this particular offer on the part of the Pakistani authorities to the Indian side for a transparent and neutral investigation, do you expect any sort of a positive response on the part of the Indians, or do you agree with the rest of our panelists? And as per your understanding, what could be the possible reasons behind that?
Thank you so much, Jawad. First of all, no, India wouldn't be ready for any impartial inquiry, because it was definitely a scripted event, but unfortunately ill-scripted event, because the timeline was very bad. For example, an event took place 3 o'clock somewhere far away, almost 1200 kilometers away from Delhi, or more than 2000 kilometers away from Bombay. But Indian media started at 3:05. I mean, that Pakistan is involved and blah blah blah. By 3:15, their politicians came in and they directly accused Pakistan what was happening or already happened there. So it was scripted as usual, but this time little ill-scripted. And results you have seen that from India, within India, there are so many voices. This was not possible. What happened over there without the convenience of someone insider? This is what at least Indian sane media is talking about. Now, the second question, why? I have a little different kind of approach. I don't consider this event just, you can say, for gaining domestic, you can say, achievements. I see this event in a broader and a larger spectrum, because unstable South Asia, particularly Pakistan, would definitely serve those who are planning to do some adventurism or something against Iran, and who are trying their level best to contain China. Because until unless this region is unstable, they won't get their results very easily. But God forbid, if this region is not stable, then that would be very easy for them to go for an adventure in Iran, or to curtail China, as they had been trying their level best. And one more thing, for the last 1 year, even the global North media and not only media, the think tanks are raising this issue that India is not enough to curtail China. So India wanted to show them muscles. No, 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 I can curtail China. Just trust on me. Don't start thinking something else. So these could be reasons because putting one
Scenario, Mr. Haroon, I see your pardon for the interjection over here. In that sort of a scenario, what I perceive is a very grave and a grim picture if that turns out to be a reality in the coming days.
I am being a citizen of this region. I am very worried, and the kind of jingoism you have seen in not in Indian media. Please don't only blame the media. Media is basically representation of the society. So the jingoism is very much injected inside society, but rather, or you can say that this is a part of Indian society, and this jingoism can drive this region, God forbid, be something very serious. But I must appreciate Pakistan. This is Pakistan which is behaving very maturely, restraining from, from so many things Pakistan could do and can do, and waiting for what India would do next. Because
Overall response on the part of the Pakistani authorities had been way maturer, way mature. There were a lot of options that Pakistan actually didn't resort to that manifested the maturity and that very wisdom of the Pakistani leadership. Mr. Haroon, I'll come back to you for a number of other aspects to be discussed. For now, we are honored to be joined by Lieutenant General Retired Raza Muhammad Khan, senior analyst joining us on the phone line. General Raza Khan, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on this special transmission. We see those very provocative statements coming from Indian Prime Minister, the very highest seat over there in India, Narendra Modi, their Prime Minister, once again hinting at, pursuing the terrorists or the perpetrators of that Pahalgam incident to the ends of the earth, and said that those who planned and carried out the attack will be punished beyond their imagination. And the kind of aggressive measures, the unilateral steps Indian authorities under the chairmanship of this very Prime Minister took after this Pahalgam incident, what does that basically indicate, and what does this particular statement also indicate? And on the other side, we have seen Pakistan's Prime Minister, the top leadership of Pakistan, saying, let there be no doubt that if India tries to go for any sort of a misadventure, we are fully prepared with all the armed forces, battle hardened, to respond affirmatively, very firmly. And we have also seen that very statement coming from Defense Minister Khawaja Muhammad Asif, that if India resorts to any sort of attack, it will lead to an all-out war between the two states.
Okay, Bismillah Rahman. So I think this is not the first time that Mr. Modi is actually very unsettled himself. And, some of the aims and objectives that he had in his mind, they are not working. One of his objectives was, to defame Pakistan. That does not work. The second objective was to, again, prove the Kashmiris as terrorists. That is not working. The third one was to hold us hostage, to the Indus Waters Treaty. So he has heard our response. And the fourth one was, obviously, it had political overtones where he wanted to win the elections in Bihar. And some of these statements, they are actually directed at winning his vote bank there in Bihar. So we shouldn't worry much about it because we have communicated our stance very clearly, and I think communicating it once is enough. Then thereafter, there were these issues and statements by the United States. Again, it's disappointing maybe to them. They have told both India and Pakistan, to solve the problem with mutual consultation responsibly. And what Mr. Modi is saying, it is totally irresponsible. China has actually supported our offer, sincere offer of impartial inquiry and investigation. I think India needs to know about that. And they've said the same thing what the United States said: restraint, dialogue, and mutual peace and consultation, which is also part of, the Indus Water Treaty resolution. The UN Security Council resolution, where India was expecting a lot, nothing happened there. So again, I think they must have been discouraged. The New York Times again said that when they were briefing the foreign diplomats in Delhi, no evidence was provided to any one of them. Then I think the loss of their revenue because of the closure of airspace by them is telling on the Indian airlines. The most important thing is that I think he is now recognized, and so has the world, that division of Kashmir into three parts has really not made any difference to peace and security in Kashmir. And the arrest and mass draconian punishment to innocent Kashmiris, I think it is going to further alienate the people of Kashmir. We should never forget that all the water dams that were constructed in Kashmir by India, it has hardly given any benefits to Kashmiris itself. They can actually stand up against them and tell them if the Indus Water Treaty is abrogated, then obviously all those dams would have been made in a disputed territory, would then be illegal, and I think Kashmiris would support Pakistan we of that, and they should be aware of that. And finally, what I would say is that in case the India finally, abandons the Indus Water Treaty, then apart from other means, legal means, constitutional means that we have at our disposal, Pakistan should very categorically said that they should forget about talking about the western rivers. I think all the dams, all the work, all the storages then which they have done on the eastern rivers would also become suspect, that will become doubtful because they all have been done in a disputed territory, and Pakistan was previously part of allowing India to do that. But if the Indus Water Treaty is finished, then Pakistan will retract that sort of agreement to make the Indian dams work even on the eastern rivers. So I think they must realize all these things, that Pakistan has, I think, much more and many options which are legally tenable than what India is trying to achieve.
Right, Jawad Khan, one very important aspect, India, which starts pointing fingers towards Pakistan after such incident happen within IIOJK or within India. Now, India itself has got a pattern, a history, a recent pattern also. We saw its state sponsorship of terrorism there in the US, as well as in Canada, as well as within Pakistan, the classical case of Kulbhushan Yadav. Now, are these incidents not enough to open the eyes of the international community? And if yes, if they are sufficient to open their eyes, do you expect any sort of a concrete response or any mechanism to impress upon India by these Western countries that Indian authorities should stop from their nefarious designs?
I think now a collective pressure by all these powers whose citizens were illegally killed, they need to collectively apply pressures on India through the UN Security Council resolutions on terrorism, because that actually amounts to terrorism, international terrorism in all these countries. And because because Pakistan and China are directly affected by Indian terrorism, against CPEC, against Reykjavik, and other places, I think that needs to be collectively taken to the UN Security Council. I would also like to add that these efforts of incursions through the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, I think, and the beating back of all those attacks by Pakistan should also be understood by India, and Afghan government needs to understand, and the people of Pakistan needs to understand that the TPP is now quite clearly and fully aligned with India and RAW, and not even with the Afghan government. And I think the earlier the Afghan government understand this, the better it would be.
Lieutenant General retired Raza Mohammed Khan, Analyst, thank you very much for being with us on this special live transmission. We really appreciate that. Dr. Jaspal, you already were of the view as to what sort of advantages Indian authorities want to take out of this particular false flag operation on the domestic front. What about, are there any motives? Do they want to get any sort of advantage as far as the international front is concerned?
I think that Indians have always made this.
Especially, I seek your pardon for the interjection. Let me add one more thing. This particular incident happened when the Vice President of the United States of America was visiting India.
Well, you have to take into account that the Indians have always been trying since long, and especially when Modi came into power, he announced this policy to isolate Pakistan, but he miserably failed. And if you see the trend, what is the Indian strengths whenever there is a high-up from the United States? They go for these kind of the flags, because with the IAP team, the entire American media is focusing on India. And with this kind of incident happen, and when the American IAP is there, like Vice President, naturally it's becoming more catchy news in the Western media. So it's a media catchy trend, and then if you see the Modi has been a lot of following in the media and Indian media with the passage of time, because big business is very supportive to the BJP, and media houses are owned by the big business. And there the narrative which we have seen in the last more than 1.5 decades, this narrative has been polluted so much that irrationality is more and rationality has been thrown out. You can just check any Indian channel, you'll find warmongering, and it thinks that instead of analysis they are focusing. So if you put all these kind of things together, of course, presenting India as a victim at the international forum, driving the sympathies from the others, and maligning Pakistan, because if you see that Pakistan this time, we didn't put the blame, you can point at the finger, but in this part of the time, we have to see that there is a transiting. Transiting is that generally we say fifth generation, but no, practically there is a high, we call it from 2007, hybrid warfare. India has been using those tactics against Pakistan. And from 2015, the most important tactic which the states are using, those tactics fall in the category of what we call it grey zone conflict or a grey zone warfare. And this move of the Indians, that at the time when the American president here to muster the sympathies and also hide their own, because Modi himself is very much under pressure within the India. He is using these fifth, what you call this grey zone warfare tactics to shift the, you can say, narrative against Pakistan in order to muster the domestic support and sell it externally. So my understanding is that the steps which they have taken, this is not a new trend. This is a trend which we have noticed that immediately after the Pulwama military standoff, when they were knocked out in the military, raising the conflict, escalating the military conflict, they went for 370 article wrapping up, and then at that time it was pointed out, one of our colleagues very rightly pointed out at that time, that what is the next is Indus Water Treaty. Just to see in this context, Indus Water Treaty is not a tap, you can control it. Making a 300 miles tunnel from the Indus Water diversion, it is a more than $1 trillion or 100 billion project, and a consortium required, which no one is coming there. Especially when Pakistan announced it that any attempt will be there, it's just for the consumption of, or for a psychological sort of a thing to unthinking herds in India. Oh, I am bringing water to drain the barren land. So he did this kind of a thing. But my understanding is that in this context, the more focus is on the domestic audience rather than the international audience.
So what about the international aspect as far as those cases that happened with Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada, then assassination attempt on the US soil, also that very finding of the 5 eyes as well. So what about those cases?
I think
what
that,
about those cases, and also the US Commission on International Religious Freedom also recommending that there must be sanctions imposed on Indian intelligence agency RAW?
Look, this is very simple. We have to look these things in a different manner. India, it's an open secret in the Canada They're very much clearly, as you pointed out, in the US, in the rest of the world, especially in Pakistan. Hitmans they hire, they do. Even today, there is in the last 2.5 days, 71 terrorists have been killed. They were coming from the Afghanistan with the support of India. It's open secret. India has been involved in that. But the problem here is that the Western powers, they are more focusing on now state-on-state conflicts rather than state or non-state actors conflict. And within this context, India is trying to make its space, but it is miserably failing. Within India, there is a big debate because repeating tactics or strategies never gives you the dividends. Prime Minister Modi, since he came into power, he continuously repeating the same tactic, that bigger strategies, malign the Pakistan, target the Muslims in India, muster support of Hindutva forces and ultra-nationalists. And the same thing he narrated his things, but now international community, as well as within the India domestic population, if you see the people are now criticizing, and the same voices in India we are hearing. I mean, the Rajiv Gandhi said, who was a leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha, what he said they must focus. What they are saying all is not well. So it's enough to understand. And this time, Rajiv Gandhi, what is a his party and the BJP has only 2-3 seats difference. The majority, Modi failed to get the majority in the Lok Sabha, and he has with a coalition support only 5-6 seats advantage. So it means the 50% India is not buying his argument. And the same with the international community. Of course, we do not underestimate the Western powers are more interested in their economic interest and in their strategic interest, especially the Americans, to contain China. But we have to wait to see whether India will be able to contain China or not.
Right, Manur, when we talk about, you already in your first take talked about that very case of EU disinfo lab, busting that very usage of disinformation on the part of Indians by creation of fake think tanks, fake experts, and that campaign had been going on for years and years on to malign Pakistan and as well as China on the international level. EU disinfo lab busted that very disinformation campaign, the sinister campaign that India was undertaking. At this particular point in time, the Godi media, this is a term which has been coined by one of the Indian journalists as well. Now, how do you compare as to the facts that we are presenting? Look, here Indians are involved in state sponsorship of terrorism. We've got solid proof of that, irrefutable evidence.
Exactly.
On the contrary, they haven't got any evidence, any proof against Pakistan, yet they are blaming, and blaming it with full throttle. It seems that extremist agenda or the narrative is on steroids. How do you compare the role of Pakistan and Indian media?
Actually, Indian media is crying over the thing that international media is not buying their narrative. International media is not buying their propaganda. I believe through media, through social media and through electronic media, India is trying to shift their image from a terrorist state to a victim state. And they are trying hard to do that, but they have no logic, they have no evidence for that. And we have seen that they are using the fake accounts, fake journalists, fake analysts, and now even their own journalists are blaming and their own Congress leaders are questioning Modi. So basically, we have seen that what India has been doing with US, with Canada, and how they are being involved in terrorism there. So I believe that the media role is quite disappointing, to be very honest. As a journalist, I believe that they have disappointed me really badly because they are not talking with logics. They are trying to bash your journalists, they are trying to bash your analysts, they are not even going to buy what we are, even they are not going to listen what we are going to say. They offer mics and they do such things. So I believe that in this time, we all know that war is not the solution, and the responsibility of journalists in such kind of situation is very important. And
so
Indian
act very
journalists,
responsibly.
they should act very responsibly, and they should talk with the logics. They should
Rather
talk
than
with the facts rather than talking with emotions, and rather than
adding fuel to fire
Exactly.
or fanning the flames.
And they are
Unfortunately,
doing
we're
that.
short of time. I'll
Unfortunately,
have to quickly go towards Mr. Agha Ikrar Haroon. Mr. Haroon, if sanity doesn't prevail on the Indian side, if they resort to any sort of a misadventure, what's going to happen then?
Definitely, Pakistan would respond in an unimaginable way. India knows it very well, and that is why they are calculating again what would be the next move of Indian government. Remember what happened in February 2019, and unfortunately, today I can say unfortunately, we sent this Abhinandan back to India. He should have been in Pakistan for 2 or 3 years. Then we should have sent him back. So India knows it can happen again. And remember, Pakistan is a very responsible state. Of course, it's refraining from any adventurism, or it would definitely.
Mr. Agha Ikrar Haroon, your point is well taken. Unfortunately, we're short of time. I'll have to go for a quick break. Mr. Agha Ikrar Haroon, senior analyst, joining us on Skype. Thank you very much for being with us on the special transmission tonight. And Mr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal, Foreign Affairs expert. Dr. Jaspal, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on this special live transmission. Ms. Manur Qureshi, broadcast journalist, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on this special live transmission. With that, we come to the end of this particular part of this special live transmission. We'll be taking a short break, and then you'll be able to watch the headlines of the hour. And after that, we'll be coming back to you with the other segment with some new participants in that. For that, stay tuned.